Good morning guys, and welcome to another Oxwagon Diaries episode. I think you'll already know by this stage that this one's going to be a little bit different because at the time of filming it is February 2022, but you're probably watching this much later and it's probably completely separate to the rest of the Oxwagon Diaries series, which you would have seen probably months ago. And the reason for that is that I've got a product that is only going to launch in a few months' time when you're watching this.
Well, hold on. There are a number of new products on this Impact M3. It's certainly not your stock standard PCP. For one, we've got power upgrades allowing us to shoot the new 40 grain Gen 2 Javelin at well over 1,000 feet per second. That's the 40 grain on the right compared to a 34 grain on the left. We've got an L-Safe 300 bar 580cc bottle allowing us to get more shots per fill. A reflex silencer from Fox Silencers that fits perfectly over the 20mm tension barrel. Crafferton lip cheek piece, Sekhmet digital gauges, Sabre tactical bag rider, but this is the real talking point. The Element Theos 6-36x56 first focal plane. This is actually a prototype that I'm testing, so it will be a little bit different when it goes into production, but in a nutshell, the scope features a 34mm tube, push button illumination with parallax down to 10 meters, capped windage turret with thread protector, and the best part, tool-free turrets with 12 mils per revolution, a revolution indicator that flips over when you reach your second revolution, and a tool-free zero stop mechanism. It is packed with features, and oh, that color looks good. Today we woke up to one of those perfect mornings and decided that although the green machine shooting 34 grain slugs would allow us to kind of hit the ground running with the tried and tested system, we also wanted to take the opportunity to test out this new setup and see what it can do. And with the wind starting to pick up, we didn't want to waste any time.
Are those your hunting clothes, my love?
Pardon?
Are those your hunting clothes?
Yes. It's a sunny day, I get to wear a dress.
Okay.
Our very first priority was to do some trajectory calibration out to 200 meters, and we picked a spot overlooking a flat plain which would allow us to pick targets at many different distances. The Gen 2 Javelins had just been developed back in February 2022 when this was filmed, and although a couple ground squirrels tempted me into taking a shot early on, I wanted to get accurate, reliable BC data before taking any hunting shots.
So I think before we start any hunting, we just want to do some trajectory validation. I'm out here in an open field, just kind of flat spots all the way out, and there's rocks at various distances. I can take the rangefinder, I can range a rock at my zero distance, I can make sure I'm zeroed correctly, and then I can go further out and just check the exact drop in mils, all the way out to 200 meters or so, and just confirm that my ballistic coefficient that I've got in my app is correct. The ballistic calculator, in this case the Kestrel, was telling me originally that I need to dial 7.4 mils for 170 meters. So I would dial 7.4 mils, and I would see that our point of impact is actually a little bit high. So what I'd do is I would dial it back until the point of impact is spot on at that distance, in which case it was 7 mils, and then I'd input that data into the ballistics calculator and do a ballistic coefficient truing. All of that's now programmed into my SIG BDX. So if I find a ground squirrel, for example, on this field, and there are some here, I can arrange them. It'll tell me within a second exactly what I need to dial, and I can take it out. And I'll tell you what, this gun is accurate.
The slug is dropping less than I thought, so the Gen 2 Javelins are still pretty new. I have a feeling that the Gen 2 40 grain actually has a higher ballistic coefficient than the Gen 1 40 grain, which is kind of what we expected, but this just confirms that. So I need to do a quick change in my software. Before I could make any of these corrections, Mr. Ground Squirrel pops up, and I hold a little bit low to account for the trajectory difference. And another one.
Oof, that was a hit.
Yeah, he's done. Another one just to be safe.
It's so difficult. I mean, these squirrels just have so much energy, they want to keep moving. You've got to be on them quickly, but when they're at that distance and you need a range between each shot, I mean, you can't just estimate the range. They could be 60 instead of 75, and in that case you're going to miss them. So so difficult in a short time frame to get that right. And here he is. Now, I put 2 shots into him. I don't think I had to, but my first shot was quite far back. You can see there he was down and out within a few seconds, but just to be safe I put another one there in his head. Yeah, good to get a ground squirrel down with the M3 with the 40 grain slugs, and I can see here the slugs are definitely performing very well, opening up, but I would like to get a few more. There's lots of squirrels here. We just haven't had much luck trying to get on them before they start moving. So I think we'll take a drive and we'll come back a bit later to the same spot and see what we can do. But it's 1 ground squirrel down. Happy with that.
With the sun starting to warm all the rocks up, we turn our attention to the rock structures across the valley in search of dassies. In the previous episode, we had taken a couple really good shots here with the green machine from over 100 meters, and we were hoping for more luck today, but as hunting often goes, it seemed like we may be in for one of those quiet days. And to make things even worse, the wind was starting to pick up quite severely.
The wind's picking up as well. It's making it really challenging.
But no worries. Once again, this gave us a great opportunity to just check the setup's performance at these distances and to validate our corrected BC. I took these 3 shots at a rock a little bit over 100 meters, and the goal with these kind of tests is to try and predict exactly where that slug's going to land and to hit that spot first try, because when you're hunting, you don't get sighted targets. You got to make it count on your first shot. In this case, not only did that slug land within 0.1 mil of where I was aiming at over 100 meters, but the elevation was perfect, indicating that we'd nailed our BC. And with a BC of around 0.14, it just bucks the wind so well. This was also a great opportunity to check the clarity of the scope cam footage through the scope, and I was not disappointed.
I must say, it's been a tough morning. We probably been out for a few hours already. It's nearing 11 o'clock in the morning. Getting really hot, very slow morning, but if you've watched the previous few Oxwagon Diaries episodes, you'll know that with it being so green like this, the animals have so much natural food that they don't have to travel far to feed in the mornings, which means they're just huddled up in their hardy places. With all the vegetation, it's also much harder to actually spot them. It's like there's just so many more places to hide, so we're struggling here. Looking for dassies out on the rocks. We've been glassing for a while. Nothing. Not the best day, I guess, to test a new setup, but even if we don't get many animals today, and I'm sure we will get a few more, but even if we don't, the point here is just to test the setup, and I can, even if there's no dassies ahead, I can still range a rock, pick a spot, take a shot, and see where I hit, or I can check through the scope how clear can I see fine details. And through the scope right now I can see every little piece of moss on those rocks at about 150 meters, which is awesome. So you got to be happy with that, and now we just have to wait for something to show up.
With no luck at our dassie spot, we follow the Witmos River downstream and hope for some opportunities along the way. And a couple starlings give us this opportunity. These birds love living in corrugated roofs and are one of the species that we take down whenever we can.
I love that sound.
There are many roads on this property, and that gives us a lot of ground to cover. With opportunities few and far between in the mountains, we decide to make our way down towards the cultivated lands in search of ground squirrels and monkeys. pretty crazy looking back and seeing the insane number of ground squirrels that the spot has produced over the years. When the conditions are right, they just seem to breed like crazy. I think the drought did quite a lot of damage to their population though. Over the past few years, the farmer hasn't been able to irrigate these lands properly. There's just been no water, and I think it's going to take a while for their population to rebound. Once again, we leave empty-handed. Is today some sort of public holiday for pest species, or maybe they're all at a convention somewhere? Who knows? The previous 2 days we had managed to put down a few dassies at a particular spot right next to a canal, which keeps running all year and therefore kept the population well sustained through the drought. We make our way back to the spot, and what do you know, we're in luck. I get 2 quick opportunities and make both shots count before passing the rifle to Nicole and allowing her to dispatch a third.
Oh,
Perfect.
got him. Oh, he's down.
Awesome.
He's definitely
Well
down.
done, love.
Thank you.
My first shot landed a little low and sent teeth flying everywhere, but the slug continued straight through the neck and body. And the second shot, although the footage is not quite focused, landed right between the eyes for a perfect shot. And it's always nice when you can see the dassie resting on top of a rock, because it can be so tough retrieving them. Everything can look totally different from up there.
Right, so I think this was the first dassie I shot. I have to try and get down here and pick him up. There you go, a little bit bloody, but somewhere in the head, or maybe it was in the body. Actually, it might have been a body shot because he looks like there's some bubbles in his blood. But it's possible also that I hit him in the head and the slug traveled all the way through his body and came out here. Because I see blood there and I see blood on his head. It's possible I just penciled it straight through. But either way, that one's down, and I think there's 2 more further that way. So here is my second dassie. Big pool of blood there. But that's just how hunting goes. Let's see where I hit him. Right there in the forehead. So in the forehead, slug probably traveled quite deep into his body, I'm guessing. And then that is where it hit the rock, and oh my goodness, there's the slug. That is our 40 grain slug after passing through a dassie. That's amazing. So yeah, in the head and into the rock. Great stuff. So 3 dassies down, happy with that. I think Nicole's one just fell down a hole and we struggled to find it, but it's definitely down. I got my 2, both in the head by the looks of things. And I must say, I was stressing a little bit earlier with only the 1 squirrel to show for all our hard work this morning, but the dassies have saved the day once again. And I think we're ready to go have some lunch and have a swim now.
On our way back, we can't help but notice the crazy transformation that is happening above us. To the right, blue skies, but to the left, a massive storm brewing.
Well, incredibly, out of nowhere, you suddenly have a thunderstorm pulling in, and the sky's gone very dark, and we're seeing lightning strikes and hearing thunder, and the rain's coming down. So it's crazy. A few minutes ago it was scorching hot, and now we have a thunderstorm. So it's kind of nice for a change. I guess we may be forced to huddle inside or have our lunch under the awning or something. But I guess if we're swimming, then the rain doesn't matter. So maybe we should just go for a swim anyway.
I think we should go for a swim. It's
like
still
going for a
hot,
swim.
even though it is raining.
Yeah. So let's do that. I think a swim it is, and we'll have lunch maybe under the awning to shelter from the rain. But it's nice to see that the green weather is going to continue, or the green conditions.
We drop off the dassies with a farm worker who seemed very happy to receive them, and carry on towards camp as the conditions get even worse.
What's happening, love?
It literally started hailing like a few seconds ago.
With the river starting to come down in flood, we decide it's now or never, and we hop out the car for a quick swim.
Let's go for a swim, shall we? Ah!
I'm still wearing my slacks. Oh, this is terrible.
Okay, I'm gonna swim right here, hey? Yep. Okay.
I don't know if you can call this swimming. It's more like flapping around like a bunch of seals, but it cooled us off after being roasted in the February sun, so it was well worth it.
We've got some seriously bizarre weather here. The sun's just starting to come out again. This morning, none of this water here was flowing. None of it. And now, it's flowing pretty strongly. So I have a feeling there might be a bit of a flash flood coming through here. I just hope that we don't get stranded at the camp. But I think we'll be okay. I think everything it'll flow for a bit, and I think it'll subside by this evening, but we'll see what happens.
We were hoping it would clear up for good, but it seemed like the weather just couldn't decide what it really wanted to do, so we made up our mind to just hunker down at the camp, make some lunch, and play it by ear.
Well, the rain started to pour down again, so we are not going to be out and about in the bush cooking lunch. I think we've got access to this kitchen, so let's make use of it. Bacon is on the stove, and we're going to put some tomato sauce on the bacon and make some bacon rolls. It's a Dubber specialty, so nice and simple, and it'll fill those stomachs as well.
The rain brings life though, and while the thunder roared in the background, we started noticing a lot of activity, from glassy starlings bathing in the mud to warthogs running around the camp. Knowing that the evenings are sometimes the best times to see monkeys on the move, we head out once again for one last drive. Although we try our best, we once again come home empty-handed and feeling a little bit defeated. We have one more trick up our sleeves though.
Well, we had a long day of hunting today with the Impact M3 with the 800mm barrel, and didn't have too much to show for it actually. It was a tough day of hunting, but the day is not quite over yet. We've got another Impact M3 here, but this one's a little bit shorter, 600mm barrel instead of 800mm, and while we were shooting the big old 40 grain slugs earlier at about 1000 feet per second, we've got the slightly smaller 26 grain Javelin Gen 2 slugs, also shooting at pretty much the same speed, but just out of a lighter, more compact gun. And we're going to be going after some hares and possibly spring hares. So, night vision unit we're going to be using today is the One Leaf Commander NV100. And I haven't done night vision hunting in a very long time, so this should be quite interesting. Put the eyepiece adapter on already, and apparently all I've got to do is this. And there you go. So let's have a quick cup of coffee, and then we'll head out and see what we can do, shall we?
We weren't really sure where to start and what we'd find when we headed out. We were kind of hoping to come across scrub hares, spring hares, or porcupines, but the first eyes we saw belonged to something much more interesting. These are fallow deer. They're the only species of deer that we really have in South Africa, and a species with an interesting history. A long time ago, a man by the name of Cecil Rhodes introduced fallow deer to this area, and they've been thriving here ever since. I've never seen them on this particular farm, but just over the mountains on a neighboring farm, I did a hunt a few years ago for the Vapor Trail series, and we managed to get quite a few down. Tonight these are not on our agenda. We actually want their population to grow here, and with the rain starting to come down again and no hares in sight, we make our way home once again. Perhaps a bit of a disappointing day, but not really. I mean, we got to set up a new gun, we got to use a new scope and new slugs, and we got to experience the power and unpredictability of Mother Nature in all its glory. Sometimes it's more than just the hunt. Soak in all the experiences. It's always worth it, no matter what you end up taking home.